Welcome in to the Extra Point Garnet Trust Hour edition. Tyler Head along with you, as well as Wes Mitchell, Kendall Smith, and our special guest today for the hour from the South Carolina women's tennis team, Ayana Akli. Welcome to our studio. We're glad you're here.
Hi.
Ayana, you are, congratulations, you are our third ever guest.
Woohoo!
For the Garnet Trust Hour. This is Ayana's first time doing live radio, so we're going to walk her through this. But Ayana, our very first guest, Nate Atkins, on Tuesday, had the most Columbia experience ever. So you're already doing better than Nate. Nate got caught by not one, but two trains on his way in, could not get around it, and ended up 15 minutes late to his first radio interview ever, which we understand because we all live in Columbia.
Yeah.
Ayana, have you been... You've been stopped by train at some point.
Oh, 100% stopped by trains. But that's why I left early from practice. I was like, I'm not going to be late. I'm going to be at 9:45. You said 9:45. I'm going to be here at 9:45.
And you were here.
You were earlier than that, I think.
Yeah, she made it early. She's been checking out the studio here, getting some pictures made. But Ayana, we appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for doing this. This is, of course, a Garnet Trust interview. GarnetTrust.com. You can set it up if you want to support student athletes like Ayana as well. And we're excited for the NIL side of this. This is a brand new show. It's going to be every Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock. Chris will be hosting the Tuesday one. I'll be hosting the Thursday one. Kendall will be just hanging out whatever she wants. But today we have Ayana. We're excited to talk about some women's tennis and to talk about her path to South Carolina. So let's start there, Ayana. You're a senior now.
Yes.
And take us back. How long have you been playing tennis? Were you one of these people that just like at 4 years old you picked up a racket and was like, I'm good at this? Or was it later in life? How did your tennis journey begin?
Well, actually, my dad's a coach.
Well, so you had to play.
Oh, that's intense.
You were forced.
From day one.
I just came out the womb playing tennis. My mom plays tennis as well, so we're a tennis family. We do it for fun. So I was never really pushed into playing tennis, actually. I did track. I tried swimming. That didn't really work out too well. I did soccer. I played basketball. So, I mean, I was like all-around sports person, but I don't know. I just found the passion for tennis when I was really young and just like the strategy of it. And you're alone out there, so you have to figure out for yourself. You're not allowed coaching. So it's just all you. And then, I had to pick between track and tennis, and I decided with tennis in maybe my sophomore year of high school. And ever since then, boom, yeah.
So your dad coached you.
Yeah.
Was he your high school coach, or when did he stop coaching you?
He hasn't stopped coaching me. He does not stop coaching me. Me and my current coach, Kevin Epley, they talk all the time and figure out new things that I should be working on. And just like they work together a lot because Kevin knows since my dad raised me and coached me all my life, he knows all the in and outs of my game. So
what is that like, having your dad coach you? Because people have their parents coach them in Little League Baseball or whatever, but then when you came to the realization, like, I'm pretty good at this, and I think I can play college tennis, but your dad is coaching you, so you see him on the court, but then you're having dinner at home 2 hours later. What's that like?
I actually got pretty lucky because I do know a lot of people who have their parents as coaches. It's not great. It's not, but somehow we made it work because they never really pushed me into being like, they were never like, if you don't play tennis, we'll be disappointed. It was always like, you don't even have to play sport. You could dance, you could do art, so it was a good balance, and we would be able to separate it when we would come home. So it was like we would figure things out on the court, but when we come home, he would ask me about my day and how school was and stuff. So it was a good balance.
Was that important, though, that, so there are horror stories out there about parents that are just like pushing their kids, and it kind of changes the motivation. The motivation, I feel like, of a young person is, I have to do this. I'm choosing to do this. So to be able to separate it, I got to imagine was a blessing for you.
100% it was a blessing. I think that when I play, I'm playing for myself, and I'm playing because I want to. And you see a lot of just athletes in general, they're not playing for themselves, and it can really affect their game.
Ayana, when did you have that realization that, hey, I'm good enough to play college tennis? This is something I want to do beyond the high school level.
I would say the biggest moment for me was when I was like realized I was pretty good. We went to Japan for this Team USA event with a few of the players at where I was training, and I had actually beat like a she was maybe good pro player in this like tournament, and it was in a stadium court like filled with all her fans, and I had beat her, and I'm just like, whoa, this could be me at like Wimbledon one day, you know, walking out waving to people in the stadium. And it was just like that was the moment I was like, oh, I can actually do this if I really like just lock in, you know.
How old were you?
I was senior, so I was a senior in high school, so it didn't hit me until pretty late. Most people are like, you know, their freshman year, they're like, oh, I'm going to do this for college and stuff, but that was like senior year, yeah.
And how old was this girl that you beat?
I was probably 17. She was probably like 18 maybe. So it was like, but she was going pro at a young age. That's how you know, like tennis, you go pro at a young age. It's not really, you either go pro or you go to college, but yeah.
That's legit. Oh my gosh.
Well, no,
full stadium in Japan, you're a senior in high school. I would have just immediately like freaked out.
I was so nervous
Were you
when I walked in. I was so nervous. I was like, I had to play 3 rounds of qualies to even get into the tournament, and then play 2 rounds before that. And then I am playing this girl on stadium court. She's like #1 seed or something in the tournament. And so I'm walking in, I see all these people, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? But I actually like did well, and I was like, oh, this is great, you know.
Ayana, y'all, is being humble. She
yes,
she was a star back in the day. You didn't realize it till you were a senior. I got a feeling other people had already realized it. I'm looking at your bio, so we brought the receipts, as the younger people say these days. Finished 12-0. Is this correct? You finished 12-0 every year in high school?
Yeah.
So you didn't lose in high school?
Yeah.
You should have led off with that. I'm not very good at math, but that's like 48 and 0.
Yeah.
48 and 0.
Yeah, 48 and 0.
What's that like?
I mean, I was mostly playing just for the fun of it, because I was playing tournaments outside of high school as well, but I just kind of like having a team, because tennis is so isolated that it was like when you can have a team and have fun and, you know, eat pizza after you play, it was just like that's kind of what I was in it for, and so it was just a fun experience.
So as far as tennis, is the non-high school, the out of high school events that you're playing, is that sort of where I guess the real competition is in your sport?
Yeah, I would say a lot of times high school tennis, there are some good high school tennis players. Like I did play a few, like our section had, because I'm from Maryland, so we had a good amount of people. Like one girl ended up going to the Navy. One is at UVA right now. So there was like a bit of competition, but a lot of the times, because you're just on the junior circuit outside of high school, like a lot of people are homeschooled. The ones who want to go like big D1 or pro, they're homeschooled, so they can't play for their high school team. So you lose a lot of that competition. So you do have to go outside and find people to play.
I think that's interesting. Like people being homeschooled. I was a figure skater growing up, so it was the same thing. Like a lot of girls were homeschooled for skating. Take me through what it's like training as a tennis player, especially when you're at that level and you know, okay, I could go play in college. Like, what does that look like? Because in football, we know they do weightlifting and a ton of other stuff outside of just being on the field. What do tennis players do?
Well, one, my mom was very big on the academics, and so was my dad. So I wasn't homeschooled, so I wasn't at the courts every day. So for me, it was like I would come from school. We would do fitness, a lot of conditioning, like running. We do a lot of sprinting, explosiveness, footwork, different things like that, just for an hour. And then you would probably play for 2 hours after that, just hitting and like skill work. And then sometimes you play points. That's usually for the school year. The summer is when you can really, especially if you're not homeschooled, you can really lock in on the practice, because then I was going from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the summer times with like 2 hour maybe lunch break and stuff. So then you would have like 2 hours of fitness, of running, sprinting, just different little things. We do a weights, but for a tennis player, I don't think you really need to max out. So we would do more just like mobility type things and like lighter weights, like just arm curls, but not like with 50 pounds, which like we could probably do 50 pounds, but it's not necessary for the sport. So
Ayana, you go to Maryland first, right? Obviously, you're at South Carolina now. You went the transfer portal route?
I was the portal. I love the portal.
you hit the portal. So let's again rewind back. Recruiting process, first time around out of high school. What was that like for you, as far as, you know, Did you get a bunch of offers, or was it more like Maryland just locked in and that's where you were going? How did that process sort of play out for you?
Yeah, the recruiting process was a little bit interesting because, like I said, I didn't really realize that I had the capability of going somewhere like South Carolina till my senior year. And by your senior year, now they kind of changed a little bit of the rules with recruiting and stuff, but that's a little too late to realize, like, oh, I could go to an SEC school or an ACC school. So I got calls like September, I think, and I got some calls from like the Navy and Harvard and things like that. And so it was more like academic based. And
this is all your senior year? This is going on?
This is more like
junior
year, okay. I think about. Yeah. And so I got calls from them. And so I was mostly focused on the academics because I didn't really think tennis. I was like, yeah, it's great. I can get school paid for, but I'm not going to really do much with it. I'm just out here playing. But it was mostly focused on the engineering for me. So I was looking at schools that would allow me to balance engineering and tennis. And so when I would tell coaches that I wanted to do engineering, then that's when the ghosting kind of happened. They'd be like, I don't think that's going to work for us. So that also was kind of limited my options. So Maryland, one of the top engineering schools. So that was a bonus. And it was close to home. They actually trained where I trained as a junior. So it was like I would get to see my dad every day and have extra input maybe. And just being close to home was really important to me, and I would be able to see my family. So that was a plus. And then, so that's what happened. But then once I realized, I was like, oh, I can play better competition. I can jump levels, And so being at Maryland, and especially when COVID hit, I got to see a lot of my other friends being in SEC schools or ACC schools, and they were still playing tournaments, and the teams were being supported to travel and play outside of like college tournaments, and that's what you need to go pro and just to up your level. And so then I realized, I probably do need to take the next step and make a jump. So
why South Carolina?
One, because of the coaching staff. So Kevin Eppley, he's a big time coach. When you look him up, he has all the credentials. So it's like, okay, take one step further and he can help my game. But then there was also a connection with one of my coaches that I did train back home with, Megan Moulton-Levy, and she actually traveled with him on the pro tour. So I knew some insights. I was like, okay, this guy can really help my game and just like make me a better player. And we trusted him because of my old coach from back home. And there you go. So.
All right, going to head into our first time out, come back on the other side and continue our conversation with Ayana Akli here on the Garnet Trust Hour. As we head into this break, though, I have a pair of tickets to give away for Dead & Company, the final tour, coming to the PNC Music Pavilion in Charlotte on Tuesday, May the 30th. Be caller number 5.
On your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Back in on the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler, Wes, Kendall, and our special guest today, Ayana Akli of the South Carolina women's tennis team. Want to remind you that the women's basketball team going to be in action tonight, taking on Auburn. Tip for that game is at 8 o'clock. You can hear pregame coverage starting at 7:30 right here on 107.5 The Game. Carolina Calls with head coach Lamont Paris of the men's team going to be at 6 o'clock. Continuing on our conversation here, and I always love asking this to college athletes, and we've had several football players here on the program over the past couple weeks. In season, what does a typical day look like for you? What's your schedule like when the season is going on?
A typical day. Well, my day is not as typical as the rest of my teammates just because of the engineering part of it. So usually right now, I'll have class at 8 a.m. and then an individual, an individual is usually like a one-on-one with your coach or maybe 2 or 3 girls. But yeah, I'll do an individual for maybe an hour and a half with my coach, go to class, come back for practice, and that practice is maybe 2 to 3 hours. And usually we do weights after that twice a week in season. So, and then I'll probably have class again after. So
pretty busy day.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, Ayana, we were talking about how you ended up at South Carolina. First recruiting process, your second recruiting process. Were you nervous when you went into the transfer portal as far as what might be out there? Or you were at this point, you're like, all right, I'm really good, and people are going to want me to come play for them. And of course, I think you were Big Ten Freshman of the Year.
Yeah,
you were killing the game at this point. Were you pretty confident? Like, all right, I'm going to have some options out there.
No, I was not confident.
You're nervous.
Oh, I was nervous. I mean, it's just like you never know who else is going in the portal with you because we as athletes can't see who's going in the portal
Right,
unless you
yeah.
like ask your friends. And so it's like there could be someone who's 20 spots ahead of me in the rankings, and it's like that could be my spot right there. So of course I was nervous, even with being Big Ten Freshman of the Year and like first team and things like that. I don't know. I still wasn't. I'm more confident. I would say my confidence has built over time, especially being at South Carolina. I would say even being at Maryland, I was still not as confident, even with the accolades. Like when I got Big Ten Freshman of the Year, I was like, who did I beat? Like, I don't think I really should have gotten it. But then, so I was definitely nervous.
Well, it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at your bio, all of the accolades that you have, you're obviously very good at what you do. And something that I think is so cool about you, Ayana, is that you do engineering too. And that is not an easy degree program whatsoever. We were just talking about it at the break. Mm-hmm. So you're a senior, just like me.
Yes.
Graduating
Let's go.
together. Let's do it. And you are in a senior design project right now for
Yes.
engineering while you are balancing being a Division I high-level tennis player. Tell everybody what you are doing for your engineering senior project. This is crazy.
So for our project, we have to retrofit 2 different buildings in Bamberg, South Carolina, which is like a small town that I don't think a lot of people have probably heard of. So we're retrofitting 2 buildings that have a lot of fire damage, wood rotting, and just a lot of different things. And we have to retrofit that into a museum. And then on top of that, we are also building an amphitheater in like a little park area.
That goes so far over my head. I am so impressed. I couldn't even, at this point, y equals mx plus b is like hard for me to remember from my freshman year.
That'll
of
get
high
you
school.
somewhere, at least.
It's the slope, and that's all that I know in math. That's crazy. So how do you balance it all? Like, how would you say your time management skills have kind of progressed? It seems like you've always been good at it just from what you told us with high school. But even in college now with all of these expectations athletically and academically for you.
Well, so coming in like last year, my junior year, it wasn't too bad. My intro class, I was taking still intro classes, so it wasn't as heavy of a load. And so the balance wasn't I didn't have to balance as much last year. But this past semester, the fall, that's when the balancing really came in because I was at Thomas Cooper Library till 3 a.m. till they would kick me out. They would have to knock on my little study room and be like, we're closed. And I'm like, ma'am, I still have 5,000 more pages to do. So don't kick me out. But I didn't really socialize much last semester. I was mostly either locked in my room trying to catch up on the 3 hours of sleep. Plus we had 6 a.m. weights. So it was like I was going to the library till 3 and then waking up at 5 to go to weights. So I was not really running on much sleep. So the balance was not really there, but it was also just like I had to get it done. But this semester is a lot better with classes and scheduling. So what's the go-to coffee order then? Because that's unbelievable. And also, are you a Starbucks person or a Dunkin' person? I am neither because I don't drink coffee.
You and Kendall both, I swear.
My girl.
Yeah.
My girl.
I don't understand how y'all do that, especially with the lack of sleep that you were just talking about. How do you not have coffee?
Yeah, no, I was not. The few times I tried coffee, I did not react well. I was like way too hyper, and I was like, I don't like this.
Okay, maybe you haven't found the right one then. I
I
think
found
that's
my
the
new
point.
BFF.
Let's go.
I'm telling you right now.
Well, the funny thing about Kendall here is if Kendall would be like, hey, let's go get coffee and talk about things, Kendall's getting hot chocolate. Her
Yeah,
her
Or
version,
chocolate milk.
Yes, let's go.
This,
Okay.
Ayana.
That's her version
I am
of
so
getting
happy that
her
I made
version
that.
of getting coffee is hot chocolate, hot cocoa.
These two are now best friends now.
Yes.
Yes.
It's been decided. I agree 100%. You talk about Thomas Cooper. I had a full, medium roast, Starbucks coffee when I was a freshman because I thought, I'm going to get coffee. I'm a freshman. I'm so cool. I was, shaking in the library. My heart was palpitating. Never again.
Exactly.
Did they put an espresso shot in there?
I don't even know what I was ordering because they
may have put an espresso in there. That may have been why you were jittery.
Whatever. I don't know what any of that is.
I don't like it.
It's not the vibe.
Wow.
Oh, I love this.
So I'm assuming no energy drinks either. No
Nope,
caffeine.
No Celsius. No, none of that. I just, I can't do it.
You just have natural energy. I admire that. I'll give you that.
Hey, sir, are you big on the nutrition side of things as well? Like just fueling your body with the right things? Is that more of a personal thing you sort of had bought into, or is that more of the university sort of is like, hey, like your coaches are like, hey, this is what you need to be fueling yourself with, or a little bit of both?
I would say mostly I just like knowing what I'm putting in my body. So, like, I love cooking in general and baking. So I don't mind a good meal prep for the week. So I love going on TikTok now and finding new recipes to try and things like that. So, yeah, no, I'm big on the nutrition. Our coaches, they don't push it. They're not pushy about it and be like, oh, you have to restrict yourself like this. But they are just like, like, they won't go out and let us get McDonald's on a traveling trip. We'll go to Cava or something like a little bit, better.
What is your go-to meal to make at home since you like to cook?
It's a good question. I would say poke bowl. So I'll do like salmon, rice, cucumbers.
Okay.
I'm down with that. I like poke.
That's also impressive.
Where's ours? Like,
yeah, you should have brought us a nice little breakfast.
At 10 a.m. for a poke bowl.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. Good pushback.
Sounds good.
But is that what you had this week, or what do you got at the house?
I actually made spicy vodka pasta this week, and it was delicious. First time.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Ayana,
wow, she's a woman of many talents.
On it.
Like, this is very impressive. I simply could not. TikTok, though, like, that would be the demise of my time management. Do you have a limit on your TikTok?
Yes, I have to have a limit, or else I will scroll and realize it's been 3 hours and I haven't gotten anything done. So
yes, that is certainly something that happens to me. And, I know you don't get a ton of free time, so you don't have time to scroll on TikTok. But, Ayana, when you do get that free day that comes every once in a while, what is your picture-perfect day off?
Oh, picture-perfect day off? Probably... I do love the sauna, so I would start my day off going to the sauna, and then probably I would bake something. So, like, this weekend, we have a little bit of free time, so I'm going to actually try to make creme brulee donuts and a gluten-free cake, like a heart-shaped cake for my roommate because she's gluten-free. So, yeah, that would be my day off.
So you're an engineer in the kitchen, too, is essentially what you're telling us.
Yeah.
I don't have any words. I'm just so impressed right now.
Teach me your ways.
Ayana, you are the best. You're our future guest. Have a very high bar to reach.
Yeah, we need Ayana to come back every week.
I'll just bring you guys food. It's fine.
Ayana,
I'm down with
for
that.
real. One day, will you bake us something?
I will. The next, yeah, no, for sure. I promise, because I love to bake, so I'll give it out to anyone.
What is your favorite food that you've ever baked? I have a sweet tooth.
Okay. I just made for Christmas this Yule log. Do you guys know what that is?
Yes,
like
chocolate.
But it and like had like mascarpone filling in it and like chocolate ganache and like it was the best thing I ever made. It looked exactly like the picture on the recipe and I was like, I have to retire. This is the best I'm ever gonna make.
You know how you know when somebody can like cook if they start talking about ganache?
Yes, like words that I can't even
If they're
spell.
talking about icing, then all right, you might be able to cook. If you're talking about ganache, mascarpone cheese,
I don't even know what the first thing you said was. I was just like, oh yeah.
No, that's sort of it's like a sweeter cheese. It's kind of not like ricotta, but it's a little bit in that family. Kind of like cream cheese almost. It's good. It's in a lot of sweet. It's in like Danish like donuts or pastries. You've had it before. You just didn't know it.
Oh, sure. I'm sure I have. That's okay. So last food question. I'm sorry. I just have to ask this because I told you I was going to ask this.
Right.
I've asked a lot of football players. Your go-to weird food combination.
My go-to would be I like pizza, but I like ranch on my pizza and barbecue sauce.
Okay. Barbecue sauce on pizza hits.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm telling you.
But then you have to dip it in the ranch, and it's like a balance.
Okay.
I'm not mad at that one though.
Yeah.
I feel like
that's good.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have any. It's not weird. That's not super weird. You
It's
know?
like the smokiness combined with like the sweetness of the tomato sauce and stuff. I agree with that. That's a good combination. Okay, while we swap recipes, we got to actually head into a timeout really quick and come back on the other side to continue our conversation. I want to let you know this Sunday, of course, the women's basketball team taking on LSU at 2 o'clock, but you can listen to that game right here on 107.5 The Game. We're going to have our own local live pregame show from noon until 1:30 with Jay and Terry. You'll be able to listen to that leading right into radio coverage of the Gamecocks radio network starting at 1:30. All that right here on 107.5 The Game. We'll be right back with more of the Garnet Trust Hour right here on 107.5 The Game.
What we're talking about on 107.5 The Game. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
Back in on the Garnet Trust Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Tyler, West, Chris, and our special guest today, Ayana Akli of the South Carolina women's tennis team. Actually, I have a question on Twitter from Steven, who asked, what are the two buildings that you are retrofitting out in Bamberg?
They used to be a thrift shop and like a possible restaurant. There's not like, it's not an exact, they like were burned down, so they're really messed up. So I don't know if they like are actual, they're not open anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if he lives out there or not, but he knew what you were talking about apparently.
Let's go check it out.
I guess
Sounds
so.
like. We got a little bit of time, I think, Tyler, if people want to text in 803-404-6100.
Absolutely.
Firehouse Subs text line. Send in your questions. Our conversation off the air has actually been just as good, I think, as our convo on the air. But where do we want to take this next, Kendall? I'm going to let you run this segment. We've got a lot we still need to hit.
We do. We have so much. Something that I wanted to get into, and I want to make sure that we hit it,
Okay.
is pickleball. I have to ask this question, and I've got to ask it now while it's fresh on my mind before I forget.
Kendall is an avid pickleballer, is what she's saying.
I've never done it, but I see it all over the place.
Right.
On TikTok, like, people are super into it. It's obviously not tennis. So for the person listening that's like, what is the difference? First of all, can you explain the difference between pickleball and tennis?
Well, tennis is like a bigger court, and pickleball, you actually have a paddle. Like, it's not strings on the paddle, and like a tennis racket, you have strings, and then the ball is also different as well. So with the court being smaller, there's like a little bit more finesse, I guess you would say, with it. But yeah, there's a lot of differences in how you serve too, and things like that. It's a big difference. Big difference.
How do you feel about pickleball? Do you think it's like fake, like it's trying to steal like?
No, I love it. I love it. My entire team, we love it. We'll play on off days as well, because we actually have like pickleball, like we have the paddles and the ball and stuff. Like our directors of operations, his name is DT. He plays, like he'll hop in. He'll be like, "Oh, yo, one of you come this weekend and play with me," and like they play it over break and stuff like that. No, we love it. We love it.
I love that, and not spending too much time on pickleball, because actually your next matchup is against that lovely team from the upstate.
I got one more pickleball.
Oh, okay.
question.
Well, we'll get into Clemson in a second.
We'll tease
We're teasing Clemson. Go
the
West.
orange team. All right, Ayana. Where did pickleball come from? Because I feel like it just came out of like I know it existed before, but now you got like Tom Brady talking about building pickleball. I think they're building pickleball courts out in West Columbia right now.
No, they are. They are.
Are you engineering those as well?
No, I wish. That part, I wish we were. Yeah, my teammate actually sent me that article about them building it. I just really don't know. Like, I knew it was a thing. I played a tournament like 2 years ago for winter break, went to California, and I saw they had a big pickleball like facility where we had tennis courts as well. So I was playing the tournament, and there was people playing behind me playing pickleball. And the difference with pickleball is it's really loud because the paddle doesn't have strings. It's really hard. So you're just like trying to play, and then you hear this behind you. But they had like the USA pickleball and stuff. So it's like, okay, well, clearly like people are going pro for it. But this was 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden it's popping up on my TikTok. I'm seeing like the youngest pickleball female, like millionaire, like she's like #1 in the world. And I'm just like, where did this like come from? I don't even know where it came from. It just popped up and like became really popular, and now we play it though, so it's fine.
It has exploded.
To say the least. We need to get out there and play some pickleball.
I'll play you.
And not to mention this whole 800-acre development for South Carolina around Williams-Brice. How about a pickleball stadium? All I'm saying.
We're going straight from court to just full stadium. We're putting a full pickleball stadium.
And Ayana can do the honors. She can engineer it, and then she can be the first person to play pickleball on the court against the opponent of your choice. I think since it's at Williams-Brice, it would have to be like someone involved in the football program. So who would you want to take on in pickleball?
Shane Beamer.
Oh, straight to the head, man.
I think I could beat him.
Okay. Challenge has been put out there.
Shots fired.
Shane Beamer.
That could be his off-season job, is playing pickleball.
Yeah, his off-season job. I told Ayana that story. Yes, his off-season job playing pickleball. That's a good one, Tyler.
I do want to hit a question real quick on the Firehouse Subs text line. Nameless texter asked the question, what does youth tennis participation look like these days? What's a good way to get kids interested, and what's a good age to get them started at?
Great questions.
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say I really didn't play like competitively till I was 12. So I would say don't rush it. I think you don't have to start at 4, like playing. I think that's how you kind of lose the passion for it later on because you've just been pushed into it. So I would say maybe 12 or 13 is probably a good age to like competitively play. Technique-wise, though, you should start a little bit earlier just because it does take a while to develop those skills. And, I mean, youth tennis, I think it's looking pretty good. A lot of my younger friends, I mean, they're coming into college and, I mean, they're playing some really good tennis, so.
Good stuff. You want to talk about the team from the upstate, Kendall?
I'm down to talk about it. You guys have your next matchup.
Yes,
against
we do.
that very
Against
team.
Clemson on
Tuesday.
Valentine's Day.
So hopefully we get a nice little Valentine's treat.
Married to the game.
Yeah.
What can you say? So, yeah, at Clemson.
Yes.
Does this matchup feel different than other matchups?
Yeah, I would say, so my first experience was with it last year when I came in. And Maryland, I guess our old rival was Duke, but because we're in the Big Ten, we didn't really end up ever playing them. And then we didn't really have a real rival. So last year coming in, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, that we have rivalry, like we have to like win, like this is really important. So it does feel different than a lot of the other matchups just because it's like a long-standing rivalry and you're just like, oh, like you don't want to lose to someone like, so it's just like you gotta get it done. It's a little bit more pressure, I would say, than other matchups.
Yeah, and you're playing at Clemson too, so you'll go up there 3:00 on Tuesday. I think anytime South Carolina plays Clemson, it's huge in so many ways. Like you want those bragging rights in every single sport.
It's about the bragging rights. It's about the bragging rights.
Well, Carolina is on a roll.
Yes.
Like throughout multiple sports right now.
Yeah.
Football, both basketball teams. I think men's tennis just beat Clemson?
Yeah, they swept them 7-0. So we're hoping we maybe can do the same.
All right, yeah. So big day for y'all. We certainly wish you luck in that. And so you've talked quite a bit, Ayana, about your team, and you said your teammates and you play pickleball. You talked about your director of ops wanting to play as well. I am curious. You said when we first started talking, it is kind of an individual sport.
Right.
So how do you sort of also build that team camaraderie sort of part of it as well? And how important do you think that is? Y'all are obviously competing out there either individually or in doubles, but I'm sure you want your teammates to do well too and want to pull in the same direction. So how does that maybe compare in tennis to like football, a true like team sport,
Yeah, I would say, building the camaraderie is very important. And I think we do that just because we have a really good group of girls. We're all super sweet and we all want to get along. So we'll do things outside of practice. Like a lot of teams, it's like, okay, practice, done, never have to see you again until tomorrow. But like for us, it's like we're always over at the freshman's place at 6:50, or they'll come to us and we'll have movie nights and things like that because we just like want to be friends outside of tennis. So like after we graduate, it's not just like, oh, those were my teammates. It's like, no, these are like lifelong friends. So I think that's important. And I think even though we're not all on the same court like you would be in basketball or football, I think having that camaraderie and being able to be like, that's basically my sister right there. Like, I'm not going to lose because I want to win for her and I want to win for my team. That pushes us to a different level. So it's like the little things. It's not like obvious, like, oh, I can pass you the ball and you play for me or something like that. But it's more of the underlying like emotions and the culture, basically.
So, ignorant question on my part, but does everyone that is like one of the top players on the team, does everyone play both singles and doubles? Or is it sort of like some people's skill maybe fits more for the singles game versus the doubles game?
Yeah. So, I mean, some teams you can, like most of the time you do, like if you were in the top for singles, you're probably going to play doubles as well. But there are really good players who are either really, really good at doubles and they have the game suited exactly for doubles with great volleys and all those, like the touch and everything. And then there's other players that are just mostly good for singles, and they play more of a singles game, and they can attack, and they kind of just like to be out there by themselves. But I think in our case, a lot of us who do play in the lineup for singles do play doubles.
Do you have the same doubles partner most matches, or does it rotate?
It's very dependent. It's an interesting. Usually, you do have the same partner. Like, it is good to have the same partner because then you just have your same plays. You're kind of on the same level. You guys are very connected. But in the fall, because we kind of play 2 seasons, in the fall we kind of change things up and play with different people to see who would be good for each other. And then in the spring, it's mostly kind of locked down with the one person. But right now, with some injuries and people getting sick and stuff, we have been switching around. So I've played with maybe 2 or 3 different people so far.
Who are your people right now? You want to give them some love?
Yeah, I've played with Gracie Molville. I've also played with Anna Cruz and then Sarah Hamner. So played with 3 different people. Yeah.
All right, going to head into one more break, come back on the other side and wrap up the Garnet Trust Hour with our special guest, Ayana Akli, right here on 107.5 The Game. But before we hit the break, going to give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to the men's basketball game coming up on Tuesday, Valentine's Day, as they take on Vanderbilt at 6:30 at Colonial Life Arena. Be caller number 5, 803-404-6100, and you'll win those pair of tickets. Be right back, 107.5 The Game.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
All right, back in wrapping up the Garnet Trust Hour here. A few more minutes to go here. I had a question for you. You're talking about your next matchup being against Clemson and that you're new to the rivalry. On a scale of like 1 to 10, where's your hate level with Clemson as we stand right now? Because that's important to the listeners.
I would say I haven't been in the rivalry that long. I don't like to hate people, but maybe like a 5 because orange doesn't look good on me. So I would say maybe a 5 or 6.
That's a good starting point.
I mean, I've spent 1 hour with you. I don't feel like you have a hateful bone in your entire body. So I think it's not in your DNA to hate, but
yeah.
She dislikes Clemson.
Yeah. Strong dislike.
Strong dislike.
Okay, that's fair. Maybe it'll get stronger after the matchup and grow from there.
Yes.
All right, let's get into some fun, personality-based questions. We already did the food, so that the fans and the listeners can get to know you a little bit better, Anna. So, first question that I want to ask, and I could honestly go so many ways with all these questions, but we talked about the Olympics earlier, and you said that would be a goal for you to be in the Olympics. The 2024 Olympics are in Paris. If you could pick any spot in the world to have the Summer Olympic Games, where would be that dream destination for you to represent Team USA?
God, put her on the spot. That is...
Maybe, I would say either Dubai or Bali, you know? Those are kind of the vibes, you know?
Yeah. I heard Bali's great.
Yeah.
I heard Dubai is great, too. I've never been. One of these days. We'll make it out there when I get off the college kid budget.
That's a good answer. Hey, I want to know if you're not playing tennis or pickleball, are you good at some other sports, or do you like some other sports? Or?
Well, I always say if I was taller, because I am only 5'5", 5'6" on a good day. But, you know, if I was taller, I would play basketball. But I am, in fact, blessed with 5'5" height, so it's okay. I would say soccer, 100% soccer.
Have you played soccer? Did you play it growing up? You're pretty good?
Yeah. My dad also played soccer, so it's like, it has to be in my blood somewhere, you know? So it's like...
He's athletic.
Yeah.
Is your dad listening?
I don't know. I told him about it, so let's hope. I know my mom's listening for sure, though.
Okay, so shout out mom and dad.
Shout out my mom, yeah.
And by the way, if they miss it, they can hear it on our podcast page, 1075thegame.com.
Perfect.
Shameless plug.
Click
Go,
on the
Tyler.
podcast tabs. It'll be up shortly. Don't worry.
Okay.
You got any more questions?
I have
Kendall,
one more.
We're running out of time.
Yeah,
but.
one more. So we talked all about this like 800-acre development around Willie B. People keep saying the things that they want to see, whether it's like shops or whatever. What would you want to see?
Firstly, more shops, because I went to Charlotte this past weekend, and I'm like...
South Park?
Yeah. So I'm like, we need that mall here, firstly. And then also more restaurants, because like I've been trying, I do a new restaurant every week to try just new something, you know? And we tried Tacos Nayarit or something. It's like 15 minutes away. Fire. Absolutely fire. So I'm like, we need more places like that closer. So that would be my goal. Restaurants.
Agreed. What is the best restaurant in Columbia that you've had since you try a new one every week?
I would say Tacos Nayarit, and then there's also Furusato Bento. It's like authentic Japanese.
5 points.
Yes.
Oh,
Amazing. Top 2 right there. That's my top 2 right now.
I love it.
How, Ayana, how has your first radio experience been for you?
This has been awesome. It's been easy, nice, comfortable.
You're a
You guys
natural
make
at
me
it.
crushed
You're really
it.
good.
Killing the game.
Thank you.
You want to come back in sometime, maybe in the future?
Okay, yeah. If I come back in with some notice, I'll bring you guys some,
Perfect.
something. Yeah.
Some donuts or
Oh, it's a
something?
done deal.
Some baked
Yeah.
goods?
It's gotta
What are you doing
happen.
next week?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Next Tuesday.
I'd
You
say,
won't be here, Wes.
but between the three of us, we have like 3 different shows that we do here from 9 to noon. So any of those is good.
Okay,
quite frankly.
I got you.
You
I
can
got
come on
you.
mine on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 10, just me, and then I'll just take
Okay,
the cake and leave.
Yeah.
Okay, we are unfortunately out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, Ayana. This was a really, really great hour. Again, if you missed any of this, you can hear it on our podcast page a little bit later on today, 1075thegame.com. Click on podcast. We'll come back on the other side with the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs right here on 1075 The Game.